can at least go ahead and start going through government representative comments and what have you. So, call to order this meeting of the St. Augustine Port Waterway and Beach District, December 15th, 2020. Let's go ahead and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Secretary, call the roll, please.
Okay. Commissioner Rivers.
Here.
Commissioner Way. Commissioner Flowers. Commissioner West. Commissioner Brown.
Here. Public comment? Nothing? Great. Actually, sorry, we're skipping adoption and approval of the agenda because we can't vote on it. We don't have a quorum to even approve the agenda. So public comment, but I'm seeing no public comment. So let's move on to government representative comments.
Sergeant Josh Underwood, Sheriff's Office Marine Unit. Port statistics from last port meeting to this port meeting for the district: 46 wake zone patrols, 18 warnings issued for safety violations, 2 citations were issued for no nav lights, 1 boating accident that we handled, and then some post events outside the district. We had the Palm Valley Boat Parade still took place, and then the Juleton Creek Boat Parade still took place. And then, just as a reminder, I was going to present the airboat funding grant match for the port today, but I'm going to wait till all the commissioners are here. So if you guys just remember to look over that packet that I sent you guys, and any questions, just let me know. That's all I have.
Right.
Actually, real quick, I want to introduce Captain Jerry Dedge. He's the new captain over Air, Marine, Ag, and Beaches for the unit at the Sheriff's Office.
All right. Nice to meet you.
Yes, sir. You too.
Bill Miller, Acting Lieutenant, St. John's Flagler Coastal Crew. Just to update on the derelict vessels in the area. We have 4 new derelict vessels. We have a 27-foot sailboat sunk at Doug Crane, a 33-foot sailboat grounded at Doug Crane, a 31-foot sailboat grounded at San Sebastian, and a 28-foot sailboat grounded at San Sebastian. Those are all in the system for removal. TSI Disaster is currently working for removals, and they have removed the boat out of Moultrie Creek. So it's all in the works. Questions on that? Good stuff.
So, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's okay.
Afternoon, Teddy Meyer with Parks and Rec. Hope you guys are well. Just had a couple updates. So Doug Crane, you guys had given us the $75,000 a while back. That's in the final stages of permitting with the Corps. Some minor things, actually not really related to the actual construction. So we're hoping in the next month or 2. We do have a contractor that's kind of ready to go. So. And then we also are working on a redesign of the parking lot. There could be possibly some additions to the actual lot. I can bring a little bit more probably next month because we're waiting to talk to the actual neighborhood association first and get some of their feedback. And then lastly, in January we're going to find again to try to get approval for the Maritime Master Plan, and that'll be like a county comprehensive plan for all the boat launches and ramps for the county. So we went to them pre-COVID, but because of the budget we had some issues with money getting swept, so we're going back in January for their meeting, and that should kind of tie in with the city and marine rescue and all that stuff, so it should be pretty good. So I'll have more information probably January for that. right?
Eddie, sorry, just remind me, what is the timeline for Doug Crane at this
So
point?
the timeline for the Doug Crane floating docks and gangways would be essentially between now and Memorial Day for a season.
Oh, all right, great.
So it's not as extensive. The parking lot, initially, we had talked about adding a couple more lanes, and there might be some dry retention. Some of it may get scaled back. Most of it was based on removing the bollards, mostly aesthetics, putting up split rail fence, some greenery around it to make it look a little bit more natural. But we've had some other input from the residents, and if you know Doug Crane, that area, I guess it would be south of where you drop in, is kind of, what's the word? It's probably kind of primitive in some ways, and there's a lot of driving on that access, so we're trying to figure out the best way for site controls, Parks and Rec side, and also appeasing some of the residents as well. So we're in that kind of design process with Gulfstream, so.
Got it. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. Sydney Lindblad, Natural Resources Project Manager. Just a few updates on our beaches. One project that we are working on is our Butler Park East, which is heavily used for off-beach parking and beach access. We're trying to reconfigure the parking lot to make it more efficient and add some parking spaces, as well as add some ADA parking spots and redo the access ramp to allow for ADA access as well. That one currently is with Construction Services, and it's going out to bid. They're also looking at redoing the bathroom there, and hopefully that will all be done before the beach season in May. And then the other one, our beach passes have gone on sale. They're located or can be purchased at any of the tax collector's offices. They're only allowing St. Johns County residents to enter their buildings. So this year we have offered online purchases for beach passes. So that's the first time we've offered that. And then they're also available at the Pier Gift Shop. Okay, that's all. Thanks.
Thank you.
Jim Piggott, City of St. Augustine. Just two quick items. One, I gave Elise a copy of the interlocal agreements, which I'll pick up. Thanks for signing. For our application to fine for dredging. This is number 2. Next year, this time, I'll be bringing number 3. And then we'll be starting, once we get the grant, hopefully we'll get it. We'll do 3 phases altogether. And the last thing, other good news, we called down the fine about, remember last time I was here about that 17,000 plus boat to pull? Fine seemed to be very optimistic that they would take 3/4 of that cost. We'll find out in their January meeting, which may or may not be up here. It's supposed to be up here, it's probably gonna be virtual. So the application will go before fine at that time. If that's approved, then port's cost is around $4,200, something like that, so.
Has that boat been pulled out yet?
It has been pulled out, yes. That's all I have.
Right.
Thank you.
Carl Blow, Florida Inland Navigation District. Good afternoon. I don't have a lot for you today, but I brought you some information for you to review for maybe a future meeting. First off, just to follow up with Jim's statement about the derelict boat grant. That should go on our consent agenda in January, so I'm kind of 98% sure that will be approved. Being on the consent agenda, unless somebody pulls it off for discussion, that's usually, just is approved. But what I brought you today, and I'll have to put my mask on, I guess, to do the handouts, but is I noticed your last meeting, there was discussion about the amount of funding you have on hand and what that's for. And of course, Commissioner Rivers has been around here a long time, and not in a bad way, but if you don't mind me weighing in, but the understanding has been that that was basically an insurance policy in case there was a problem with the inlet, a shoaling. And so what I did is, I guess I've been around here a long time too, because I went back through my records, and we had an incident in 2011, which was a classic case of why you hold on to that money. We had a shoal form in the inlet kind of rather quickly, and we had boats were basically hitting it and running aground, and we're having significant damage, and lives were threatened. And it also had a significant economic impact to not only the city marina, but all the marinas and boat yards in the area, because what happened is word got out that the inlet was dangerous, and the boats, the transient boats, were not stopping here. So anyway, I've got a couple of articles from 2011 that kind of gives you a feel for how the port addressed that problem, and kind of give you a feel for how tenuous, if I can use that word, the funding is for the port. In other words, there's it's a federal channel. The inlet has a federal channel in it, but that doesn't mean that the federal government maintains it. In fact, there is no regular maintenance program by the federal government. So it's kind of boils down to this board to keep that open. So anyway, without taking up too much time, because I thought y'all were going to have a pretty big agenda today, I'll go ahead and hand this stuff out. The other thing, though, before I forget, is not history. It's basically something that's going to be addressed in the future. But as you know, right now there is the renourishment project going on in Volano Beach. And before that project started, the Corps was studying improving or repairing the north jetty. When you look at the inlet, there's jetties on the south which are real visible, but there's also a jetty on the north that only very little of it is visible, depending on what's going on sand-wise. And that jetty on the north, basically, what it is, it's a wooden bulkhead with the granite on top of it, but the wood has deteriorated, and so what it does, it allows sand from the north to enter the inlet and enter the inlet channel, and actually ultimately enter the intercoastal waterway channel and build that flood shoal, which is what they're currently dredging and putting back on Volano Beach. But the problem is that north jetty is the Corps' term is it leaks. It leaks sand, and they had geared up to study repairing that jetty, repairing the old wood bulkhead that's underneath the granite, and then possibly putting filter fabric to keep the sand on the beach, and possibly even extending the jetty a little bit. But that project was delayed because of during this period when they were looking at it, the amount of sand at Porpoise Point, as y'all probably remember, there used to be a lot of sand at Porpoise Point, sand dunes, and it was a big area. It kind of just disappeared all of a sudden. And so the Corps became concerned about doing anything to that north jetty until they totally understood the dynamics in that area as to, how sand ends up at Porpoise Point, and when it leaves, where does it go, and that sort of thing. So what I have here is, in addition to the articles about 2011, is an email that I sent to Jason Harrer with the Corps, who's your project manager for that inlet. And basically the email is, I'm saying, hey Jason, now that the Volano project is done, are you going to look at this North Jetty issue again? And Jason responded and gave some dates as to what the Corps' plan is with the North Jetty, as well as how they're going to address this issue at Porpoise Point. And so anyway, I'm going to hand that out so you guys can see that. And what I was thinking was you would probably want to, put on the agenda in the future sometime a discussion about the North Jetty and Porpoise Point. And then the second thing is after you read these articles from 2011, maybe a further discussion about, what you should maintain in cash in order to have an insurance policy in case the district has to hire a dredge, which we did in 2011, and to go out there on an emergency basis and open the inlet channel. And I'll be glad to come back and answer any questions about anything I know. And of course, Taylor Engineering was involved in that as well. Also, before I forget, when you get to the point of discussing the North Jetty, Jason Howard with the Corps would be happy to come down and be here to give you a further update on where the Corps stands on that.
No work has been done on the North Jetty at all?
No work was, what happened, Commissioner Rivers, is they were moving forward, and I think you and I were at a meeting out there, I believe, this is years ago, or a number of years ago, when they were really gearing up to do that project. And what happened was, after that meeting, there was significant erosion at Porpoise Point. I mean, a lot of erosion, and the Corps became concerned that they wanted to know what was causing that erosion, and if they tightened the jetty, would that create a bigger problem at Porpoise Point? So what they have to do is, and then he addresses this in the email, is they have to develop computer models and run a lot of models until they have they feel confident that if whatever they do to the North Jetty will not create more problems somewhere else. So that said, I'll go ahead and put my mask on and hand this
Carl,
out.
before you do you recall how much it costs to clear the inlet in 2011?
Yeah, there's some numbers in these articles, and the Corps basically operates two hopper dredges that are based in Wilmington, North Carolina, and those hopper dredges are available like in this time of year. They tend to do projects in Florida and in the South, and in the summer they operate as far north as Maine. And they operate actually as far south as they go around in the Gulf of Mexico as well. Those dredges, there's two of them, the Murden and the Currituck. Currituck's been here several times. And Fine charters those, working with the Corps on occasion. The Currituck's been running about $25,000 a day. And they charge from the point they leave Wilmington until they get back to Wilmington, unless you can coordinate, like if they're working down in Ponce, which is what we did in 2011, we were able to, once they finished Ponce, come up here, so we avoided that mobilization charge. But that's what you're looking at, $25,000, $30,000 a day, and the Currituck, this in 2011, I think they were moving about 2,000 cubic yards a day, because they only operate it during daylight in this area. And what happened was they worked for 2.5 days. They removed about 6,000 yards. The shoal was about 35,000 yards. What we did was the Port District agreed to fund $300,000 total for the 35,000 cubic yards. The 6,000 yards that we did kind of on an emergency basis, because all we could get the Currituck for at that time was 2.5 days, because they had to be somewhere else. That cost was going to be $50,000. But what happened was, and it's in the article, is and not to get into it. We had a city commissioner at the time, Mr. Leary, Commissioner Leary, who was a high-ranking official in the Department of Interior in D.C. that had retired down here, and Bill and I were friends, and so I took this problem to Bill, and he had the the connections at the Corps, at the Pentagon, basically to get this done, and in the end, you didn't even have to pay. We didn't have to pay the $50,000. Somehow, magically, and you're familiar with Washington. This is a magical place. Magically, the $50,000 came from somewhere, and so the district didn't have to pay for that. And I'd have to check my records, but I think what happened on the rest of the shoal is, we did 6,000 yards, and that bought us time. And ultimately, and help me if I misremember this, that we had a renourishment project come along for St. Augustine Beach, and they got the rest of it and put it on the beach. So actually, in the end, we dodged 2 bullets, is my recollection. So, is that correct? Okay. So, but long story short, the reason I'm bringing this stuff is to give you a feel, especially for the new commissioners, a feel for the potential problem where you have a storm, the inlet closes up, businesses are hurting, and you've got this money to go hire the Corps dredge or a private sector dredge to get it open, and then hopefully get a reimbursement from FEMA if it's a hurricane. But you can ask the city that FEMA usually takes years to write you a check for and you never know how much you're ever going to get back from FEMA either. So anyway, that's what I brought you today, and I'll
Carl, before you finish, explain to me, explain to us, especially to me, like I was a 5th grader, about what the plan is for that north jetty.
Well, Commissioner,
How are they going to approve it? Put it in very simple language.
well, ideally, now that the 1.3 million cubic yards is back on Volano, ideally what you'd want to do is basically rebuild the jetty.
With the rocks that are already there?
Well, yeah, you reuse those rocks, but what you would do is relocate them temporarily, put down sheet piling, fabric so sand can't migrate through the jetty, put the rocks back on top of the sheet piling. And then the idea is that sand will stay on Volano, because what's been happening over time is when you have a northeaster and that sand's migrating from north to south.
Barriers to stop the sand.
It's a barrier to stop the sand, right. But what the Corps wants to do is make sure that they don't create an erosion problem that would impact private property at Porpoise Point. And also the other issue too is I think you guys all know that Porpoise Point, when it is fully, drivable, is a big public access area, very popular. So the Corps probably will be, they will run computer programs trying to figure out exactly what goes on there, and it may be necessary to build some groin type structures or other type of structures to hold that sand in, or stabilize, let me say stabilize the Porpoise Point area before they do anything to the jetty. But you got to hand it to the Corps. They're very attuned to the unintended consequences of their actions. I mean, obviously over the years we've all learned, or we've learned that when you do a big civil project, it may cause things no one ever intended that it would. So does that answer your question?
It's actually not near the rocks, but in the center of Porpoise Point, has gone away as well. I mean, I can
That's-
stand in a house that's right on the point, right in the middle on the point. They've got a little seawall built up, you know, about as high as this. And water at a normal high tide will come up all the way to the seawall.
Yeah, well, that's what the
It
concern
used
was.
to not be that, it used to stop hundreds of feet back.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it used to be when you drove down there, you had dunes with sea oats, and all those houses that face the south or face the inlet had several hundred feet of dune and sand between them and high tide. For some reason that's not currently totally understood, that material went somewhere, and like you say, yeah, I mean, there was people building seawalls there that never needed a seawall, and at high tide you'd have waves hitting their seawall. So the Corps wants to make sure that whatever they do to the North Jetty doesn't aggravate that situation, and they, hopefully stabilize Porpoise Point so that it, is available to the public, because as we all know, it's a very popular spot to drive down there and get on the beach.
Popular recreational spot for family swimming or fishing.
Fishing, jet skis, I mean, it's very popular. So, anyway, that's, I'll go ahead and give you this stuff and put my mask back on. I don't want to get sick before Christmas. That's why I'm doing this.
Matt, reflect that Chris is here, so it goes in the record.
Right, yes, Commissioner Chris Way has joined us.
Sorry, everybody. I put on a different watch this morning and was sitting in my office, and right now my watch says 2:45. And my secretary goes, "Aren't you supposed to be at Port and Waterway?" I said, "Yeah, it's 3 o'clock." She goes, "Well, it's 2:59. Anyway, sorry.
No worries. Well, because you're here, we can, I think, double back. Are there any other, government representative comments? I don't think so, right? No? We can double back and go ahead and adopt and approve the agenda. Any modifications to the agenda, any problems?
Wait, I can't understand.
Sorry, we're going to go back and approve the agenda, because
Okay,
Chris is here, we can vote on it.
I move we approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
Right, all in favor?
Aye.
I approve, great. Secretary Treasurer's report?
Yeah, I got to go to a microphone since I don't have one.
Here.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Oh, do we need to move Tom to a microphone?
He has one right there. He can use that.
Close enough? Okay.
Yeah, he could slide the seat over, yeah.
Okay.
He's fine. Let's see, this is the treasurer's report. So of the city police law enforcement overtime of the 8,000 committed for this fiscal year, we've spent 150. For the sheriff's department overtime of the 25,000 committed, we've spent 4,994. Nothing has been spent on derelict boats or unspecified marine projects yet, but again, the year just started as of October 1st. In the Florida State Board of Administration, Fund A, we have $23,141. In the operating account, we have $302,423. And in the money market, $2,284,506. Of the taxes budgeted for this fiscal year, we budgeted $583,000. We've received $245,000. However, I did get another $100,000. It was in the email today, so there's about $350,000. So that would leave about 230 more, whatever the difference is, that we need to get. And I think, and I will probably, as we're getting more, I usually move about 150,000 over to the money market so we can get interest if we're not using the money for anything, or, big projects. So I'll transfer money over to money market and collect it so we can collect some interest.
Right.
Not that it's a whole lot, but I mean, $2 million and all we got was $188 last month was pretty pathetic, but
Weak.
it is what it is. So that's, if there's any questions, all good?
None for me, thank you. Good. Next item is approval of minutes from our November 17th meeting. Any
One
modification?
change that needs to be made. The meeting was dismissed by you, not me. If you look at the minutes, it says Vice Chairman Rivers.
Okay, good catch.
Very last page, Clay. Okay.
Good catch. I have nothing. Chris?
No.
Great. So do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
All right, great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
With the changes.
With the changes Tom suggested, that's right, good. No engineering report. I heard from Jim at Taylor yesterday. They weren't able to come. But I think they're going to try in the new year to only come to meetings in which there is something specific on the agenda for them to discuss, or there is an ongoing project for them to discuss. And because neither was the case this time, they are not planning on sending anybody. Which brings us to old business, of which we have none. So now we're on to new business. We can start with the St. Johns County Legislative Delegation. Clay, you've gone ahead and submitted the paperwork for us to send a delegate. It sounds like we'll probably send you, although we can discuss that. Tom, maybe we should send you. You've been before. I don't know. What does everybody think?
I've been in touch with the delegation. They are fine whether it's me or whomever else gets picked. I will let the coordinator know tonight whenever I get back to my desk from this meeting. It's entirely up to the district, whoever you want to go.
Right. Tom, what do you think? Do you want to go? Do you think we should send Clay?
Well, either way, I'm willing to do it. What I had told Clay was that I would get you the information, and I saw an email earlier this week that we had to have the information to you by the 18th. Is that right?
Written materials were due to the legislative group yesterday, but certainly we can follow up following the legislative meeting with any additional materials and just send them individually to any legislator.
Concerning the expansion of the district, I know I saw an email from Sandy Flowers where she said to include all waterway areas, but my idea was to make it simpler, to simply say we expand the district to include the whole county, the entire county. So I have material to support that, which I would either be glad to do or present it, or to give it to you to present, either way.
Tom, didn't you make a pitch for that, expanding to countywide?
I've done that before.
Yeah.
Again, I'm fine either way. The only thing I would suggest, and I can do a significant portion of this after the meeting to whomever is selected, but I do have a suggestion as to how to pitch that proposal to some of the legislators to make it more appealing to them to potentially get on board with it.
Right.
Because I think you can tie it into some of their other funding desires at the state level and make it easier.
I presented the same legislators two times before, and I always had a handout to give them to support, what I was saying to them during the meeting. So I can prepare that again. And the question as to whether you do it or I do it is what I consider up in the air right now.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, should we flip a coin?
I serve at the pleasure of the district, so.
Is what I'm thinking.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, he's an experienced attorney. Maybe we'll give him a shot this time. Is that okay with you, Tom? Yeah? Is it okay if we, in that case, we'll let Clay do it this time, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Chris, are you?
Fine with that, yeah.
Okay. I don't think that's something we need to vote on. What we do need to discuss, though, is any other business we want you to bring to the delegation besides expansion of the port boundaries. Sandy had brought up an insurance issue, which I'm not even sure is actually a state law issue or not. I'd claim total ignorance of state insurance laws. So we may be too far behind the ball on that one to even try to swing for it, even if it is something that could be changed by the state legislature. Was there anything else that anybody brought up besides that, though?
The aids to navigation was something that I got comment on from commissioners as well.
Right.
I think that might be, certainly it's up to the district however you want to proceed, but I think that might be similar to the insurance issue, as maybe this not be the best body to present that to and continue to go through
Right.
Coast Guard issues, teaming up with the city to try to get that resolved, because there seems to be progress that way. But certainly happy to present whatever the district wants presented. The one benefit would be if you do focus it in on district boundaries, it's very easy to keep all the legislators' attention on
Right.
that issue.
Yeah, my instinct would be just to ask for one thing, not give them too many things to get distracted with.
I'm happy, however y'all wish to go. I'll present one issue, 50 issues, however you want. My suggestion would be the one I think gets you your biggest chance of getting positive feedback, but I will do whatever you wish.
I agree with you.
You only get 3 minutes, right?
Correct.
Okay, so definitely, definitely one issue then.
Yeah. As a general rule, the biggest part of this is to get a face in front of the legislators, try to make a connection with the legislators, and as much or more so, make a connection with their legislative aides, because that's who does the heavy lifting often. So yeah, it's really just a 3-minute, I've got a great idea, please let me give you details after this is over kind of thing.
Is it only the legislature that can switch the zone, or does the county, would the legislature,
It would
defer
have
to the county?
Yeah, to get the district boundaries, the first thing that would have to occur would be the state legislature would have to say, yes, we're amending the law to change the boundaries of it.
And it would be voted on by the whole legislature in the state?
Yeah.
Yes.
Does
But
it have to
it,
go on the ballot, a vote with the county?
if the legislature signs off on it, then yes, it would have to, the next step would be getting to a ballot initiative, but, one step up front of the other. Cart before the horse, if you get the legislature on board, I think some of the same issues that would entice the legislators to be responsive to this, particularly our local ones, if it was presented correctly, would also, a lot of the electorate would be on board with it as well. And just as a brief snippet, I think your biggest selling point, Commissioner Rivers and past bodies have put together a great presentation as to why it makes good sense from just a pure, is this a good idea or not standpoint. To me, the extra selling point is I went back and looked through some of the legislators' sponsored bills over the last session and the session before that, and particular, some of them had some bills that made it all the way through the legislature and then got killed on a line item when it made it to the governor. And I think part of our pitch is if we are a district that can do anything within the county, it's much easier to get the governor to not line item veto something if we can say it's a matching funds type of issue, that the state's just not going to fork this out.
So if it were to go to a vote, would it just be countywide? But would it just be the people who are not in the district now that vote, or would the whole county vote? I mean, would we be voting to include Joe Schmo? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it would be to, assuming ultimately what the legislature passed was expand the district boundaries to be the entire county, it would be the citizenry that's not already within the district.
And that would be the only people that would vote on it?
Yeah, essentially you have to agree that you're willing to be taxed.
Right.
That's
And
gonna be
within the
tough.
district, you're already in.
Yeah, that'd be a tough row to hoe right there.
We're going to have to put together a pretty slick, slick pitch for that
It
one.
is, but again, I think your big pitch is, there are major projects. At Ponte Vedra Beach has a significant one. Everything at the state
Right.
level said this is something that needs funding, and the governor line itemed it. I don't fault the governor at all. I know this is a tough budget year, but I think for any of the citizens in the county, there is a benefit if you see there's something that needs to be done to have the district encompass all of the county and have the funds to be able to say, Tallahassee, you send us a check for 50% and we'll fund the other 50%. The citizens of the county that would then be within the district have that extra benefit of the extra money coming from Tallahassee. But by the same token, Tallahassee isn't having to foot the whole bill. Now, in a tough budget year like the one we've had right now and coming up, everything might still get line itemed, even if we were willing to fund 90% of it. But certainly it's a much easier pitch to say, Governor, please don't strike this, when you can show that there's a matching check waiting there that will evaporate if he line items it.
Let me ask another legal question, I guess, is, can the county start charging for people to use a boat ramp?
If it's a county boat ramp, then yes.
Okay. So could the county charge to use the boat ramp, and if you live in the district, you don't pay?
How are you gonna know that then?
Well, you get a card.
Yeah, everybody gets a
sticker.
sticker.
I've seen
Or
them do
you
something
pay, or
similar.
you pay a nominal amount, $5 for district residents for a year pass, and $150 if you don't live in the district or something.
That's me.
Yeah, well, if we expand the district, then it won't be you
Hey, you want to
anymore,
use our
see?
boat
Now
ramps or not?
I've been for 30, 40 years, so,
I think Carl's going to be able to shed something on this.
40 years I've been using them.
Just for information purposes, any facility, whether it's county or city, that has taken fine funding are required to treat everyone the same. So, for instance, if the county chose to charge a fee.
You've heard enough.
You've heard enough? Okay.
So that rules it out almost entirely, doesn't it, Carl?
Well, if they want to keep getting fined money, it rules
Yeah.
out.
Actually, it's an interesting scenario because the city, you've probably heard about Lot J and all that stuff in Jacksonville. The Metropolitan Park there on the river has gotten multiple fine grants over the years. And they wanted us, they're basically going to hand that or give it to a private developer. And in order to do that, they had to come see fine and asked us to waive. In that case, they would have to refund the money. And they wanted us to waive that. And we respectfully declined to do so. So bottom line is, anytime you take money from somebody, there's always some strings. And when it comes to stuff like charging fees at boat ramps and stuff like that, you can't discriminate. In fact, the city, well, Jim's gone, but when they did the mooring fields, that issue came up about charging one fee for city residents versus one fee for county residents, and in the end, they didn't get any fine funding. They didn't ask for it because they had two fee schedules. So anyway, if that answers your question.
I mean, it looks like getting the zone expanded is going to be a uphill battle. And
Oh, it certainly will,
It's
but
worth looking at,
I think
but
it's worth looking at, yeah, absolutely. Good, well, do we need to actually have a formal vote on this to designate Clay and to say that we're just going to focus on district expansion? I don't think we do, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a clear guidance from the body, so if you wish to, you can, but you don't have to.
I think we can elide that. Great. Next item under new business is established surplus funds. This is a discussion, though, that I know Jane was particularly interested in, Commissioner West was interested in. So I would move to table this until she can attend so that she can be a part of it. Also, Carl just gave us a bunch of information that's pertinent to this that we haven't had a chance to look at yet. So if no one objects, I would say let's table this until the January meeting.
Don't just have a comment. At least, didn't we,
We
several
did.
years ago, say $1 million?
Yeah, it was a few years back where they discussed, now there's new board, new people, but it was $1 million.
Right.
Where it was not to be touched.
Right.
yeah.
And I think you all, Chris, you were here. when we discussed
Yeah,
that.
because I brought it up even at the last meeting that
I mean, if we did it already, do we have to do it again unless we want to change it?
Yeah, I mean, it might be worth spending 5 minutes talking about it with the new commissioner, just to make sure she understands. But I don't know that we,
Just let them know that we had acted on it previously.
yeah,
If you want to change it to 1.5, or say you just
Yeah.
want to
we
change
can.
it.
I agree, let's just table it.
table it. Speaking of tabling it, agenda items C and D were both brought up by Commissioner Flowers, who is not here, which brings us to E, procedure for replacing channel markers. In my recollection, this was going to be a two-part issue. One was an actual discussion about the procedure for emergency replacement of channel markers. I know Sandy, Commissioner Flowers, had a problem with the chair being able to emergency authorize a certain amount of money. And then also there was to be a discussion specifically about what type of channel markers we would be replacing fallen ones with, because we keep losing channel markers, particularly in Salt Run. I know we wanted to learn more about what options might be available.
Yeah, I think she was talking about hiring somebody and having like a contract with that person. So
Right.
every time there was something happened to one of the channel markers, they're already, you know, they would go out there for a certain amount.
Right.
I think that amount was to be determined, and the person who was in charge of that, or whatever company, you'd have to talk to.
Right, and but we'd also need to figure out if we want to continue to replace them with the same channel markers we've been putting in, or whether it would be an option to upgrade channel markers to something beefier that can't get knocked out. That also strikes me as something we should probably table, in part because we need to discuss it with the full board, but also because I think we need to get in touch with Taylor and maybe ask them to weigh in on what our options would be in terms of the actual physical markers, and also, you know, whatever contractors we would be getting in touch with, obviously they would be running that too. So I will get in touch with Taylor today to ask them to be ready to present to us on that in January, if that's okay?
Yeah. Sure.
With y'all, good, okay. And then that brings us to the last item under new business, which was also Commissioner Flowers, so we'll need to table that until the next meeting. So public comment. Hearing nothing. Comments by commissioners?
Well, the only comment I have is if anybody wants a report on where the Volato dredge is at any given moment, just ask me, because that thing is going back and forth in front of my house constantly. Chris, I assume you hear it as well.
Yeah, it's a pretty steady drum, but it's not as bad as you, I'm sure.
It moved over toward you yesterday or the day
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, when the wind is right, we're right downtown and it sounds like it's in our backyard. It's unreal.
It's interfering with the music from the trade winds, but
That's all.
Great. Well, in that case, let's go ahead and establish our next meeting, which I believe is going to be Monday, the 18th of January, 2021. Is that right?
Yes.
19.
No, 19th.
Oh, sorry. Tuesday, the 19th, not Monday, the 18th. Good.
did I miss something? Because I saw, I mean, obviously I was late, but that Josh Underwood was going to be requesting.
Yeah, but we're going to table that.
Okay.
Until the whole board is here, yeah.
I just didn't know if that was.
So the whole board's gonna, vote on that.
Chairman Brown?
Yes, sir.
Just while everyone is here, I know we voted on it previously, or the district voted on it previously, but since the other commissioners are here, this might be a good opportunity to see if anybody has any additional comments on the draft letter to the Coast Guard.
Oh, yes, great point. Does anybody have any additional comments on the Coast Guard letter, the letter to the Coast Guard that we're going to circulate?
Say it again.
The letter to the Coast Guard that we're going to send asking for help with the channel markers?
Right.
Do you have any comments on that or any additions?
No, I
No.
don't.
And what was the date for the next meeting? I'm sorry.
The 19th.
19th, Tuesday the 19th.
Okay.
If there's no other business then, meeting's adjourned. Oh, sorry.
Yep.
Oh, no. Well, I was just going to tell you that we got a letter from the Florida Department of Revenue stating that we were in compliance and everything was fine with our budget and our trim.
Oh, great. Nice work, Elise. Thank you. All right, meeting is adjourned. Have happy holidays and see you all next year.